Everything that lives is designed to end. We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death.
Alright, so since both of these guys are on PC, we are using loadless timers. The load times don't really vary by a huge amount, but it is definitely significant enough that we need to sort of control for hardware, make things a bit more fair comparison-wise.
Your squadron, come in. 2B here. All units have penetrated the stratosphere. Autopilot systems green across the board. This is Operator 60. All units confirmed. We've passed the 50-kilometer threshold.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, Fudge's PB is about a minute faster than Shabu's, but Shabu does not play this category very often, so doesn't mean a whole lot. Fudge with a couple pauses, I'm not really sure what's going on there. The first minute and a half you can't really move or do any sort of meaningful inputs, so I'm not really sure why it was pausing there. So right away what you see on Shabu's screen and Fudge's screen is they changed to weapon set 2. In the prologue, the game gives you 2 weapons. You have the short sword and the long sword or the heavy sword, and you have 2 different weapon sets. In one, the short sword's in the light slot, and in the other one, the heavy sword is in the light slot. But for combat and general movement, we're going to want to have the short sword in the heavy slot. So that's the way that weapon set 2 is set up, and then the prologue. And it'll be the same thing once we sort of get into the main game. So they'll primarily be using weapon set 2 until we get into the desert to a boss fight, and then they'll actually change weapon set 1 to be the same as weapon set 2. So then at that point, it doesn't matter which weapon set that they're on, because they'll be able to do the same thing with either one. As far as the shmup section goes, really you're just trying to kill the last enemy of each wave as fast as possible. You can kill them sort of right as they come on screen, or just barely off screen, but since they're coming from both sides, it can be a little tricky to take them out as fast as possible. Just really minor time saves here, but there's not a whole lot going on execution-wise.
Operator to 2B, we need you to rendezvous with Unit 9S and begin gathering data on the local terrain. Understood.
Also see them taking some hits here. That's just to use up some of the recoveries, so there are less items in your menu. Less items in your menu, the less menuing you have to do to use the melee buff items that you'll see them use at least once, maybe twice here in Prologue. It's just a little faster when you have less items, since the buffs are at the bottom of the menu relative to healing items. And here we see Shabu's fighting this fidget spinner enemy, and it started doing the spinning attack. That is the worst luck that you can get. Looks like Fudge got it as well. You want to be as close as possible to that enemy so that you can hit all 4 points of it, but when it's spinning, you can't get that close, so you do lose time from that. So coming in here to the sort of hack and slash 3D section, which is basically the majority of the game, you'll see him doing this attack where he throws out a spinning sword. you can see it takes out these enemies pretty much instantly. That's just a dash followed by a heavy attack. For whatever reason, it does about 5 times the normal amount of damage.
Is that our target?
And we just refer to that as damage glitch because it's
You don't say.
sort of unintended behavior. So coming here up to this this sort of giant saw, what they're trying to do here is just damage it to about half health as quick as they can to start this bit of dialogue. Once this dialogue starts, you have to download your pod program info, and this is just completely timed from this point until a cutscene. So you have plenty of time to deplete the rest of his HP.
No.
So coming up to our first significant skip here, he's going to do a lift. A lift is a jump quickly followed by a heavy attack. That's basically how we start off all of our vertical movement. It's basically a lift, a heavy attack in the air, which gives you a little more height, a jump, and then another heavy attack, and then a dash afterwards.
Nothing's ever easy.
And then later on, you'll also see what's called a double lift. If you lift into a slope, you'll become grounded again and get access to another lift, which essentially just gives you 3 jumps. So you do lift, lift, heavy, jump, heavy, dash. So both guys just taking out some stubbies and some flyers here. Pretty basic enemies, not too threatening. The worst that they can do is the stubbies can kind of do an attack that will cause you to do a bunch of evades instead of actually attacking. Shabu coming up here to bridge skip. The hardest skip in Prologue, getting it first try. Very, very nice. And coming up to this other out of bounds section here. And doing a pod launch to clip through another wall.
I know.
Using a laser there, that's your pod program or your special attack. Can be very useful on certain waves. And additionally, you can hold down that button and you will get a slow-mo effect. So that you'll see that used a lot on bosses. There's a nice laser there on Shabu taking out 4 of those projectile stubbies. Kind of a tricky angle.
I surveyed the entire factory, but couldn't find anything resembling our target.
Maybe they, I don't know, moved it somewhere?
So there is a double lift there. He lifted into the stairs are kind of sloped there, so doing a lift into a slope like that will basically reset to be state and let you do another lift.
There should be another facility across that bridge. It's a bit of a hike, but should we check it out? It's not like Command to get a location wrong.
Fudge having a bit of trouble with that last wave there. That one enemy had a tiny bit of health left, and you see Fudge doing the double lift there as well. Just to do this plunge over top of that structure instead of walking around on the stairs. Saves less than a second, but looks very, very cool. I think Shabu actually lost a little bit of time there, unfortunately, but you gotta go for the cool stuff. And just here on this soft fight, Shabu using that slow-mo to slow down the boss a bit, give him some more time to throw out those spinning swords. You have to damage this boss to around about half health to progress to the next phase. But again, it is timed. It has to stop spinning before it checks to see if it can progress the fight. So you see Fudgecow, instead of using slow-mo, he opened the menu and used a melee buff item. Probably roughly the same speed. So now we're fighting this giant machine named Angles. This section right here is completely timed, so we're just waiting for a cutscene to play. In the meantime, all that we really need to do is just try and get some damage. Get some damage on Angles here. We don't have to do a lot of damage, but since there's nothing else to do, might as well just try and sort of stay warmed up when it comes to combat. See Shabu using slow-mo just to keep Angle's arms on the ground and attackable for as long as possible.
This is the target. I'm going to destroy.
So there's the cutscene. So the attack that he does right now is random, and Shabu getting very, very unlucky here. Ingalls can do one of 6 attacks here, and this is the slowest one by far. This loses about 23 seconds over the next slowest one. So about a 20-25 second time loss here for Shabu. So depending on what Fudgecow gets here, this will help them close the gap significantly. Doesn't get punches, so that's good. So you see Shabu's Angles just went underground and Fudge's just went underground. So that gives you an idea of how much time getting punches loses, and it's just completely luck, but what can you do? Luckily, that is the worst instance of randomness in this run. So, luckily it's only about 11 minutes in, and not like an hour in. Because most runners do reset if they happen to get punches. Also, another time sequence here, we're just waiting for Angles to attack and move up a few times, and then we get a cutscene here. And now we have to go to the top of the structure to find 9S. So we're going to see another double lift here to skip going all the way around, and just some more movement to
9S.
Try and get up here as fast as possible. It is faster to drop off of a ladder and then do a lift to get on top of the ledge without having to go through the climbing animation.
9S.
So just nice little optimization that you can get sometimes. And then taking out that last spawn that we call ninjas, because the stubbies just kind of drop out of the sky, and they like to jump backwards when you're attacking them, jumping out of your range. Looks like both of them had pretty decent ninja spawns. So know that we're in the flight unit. This is timed as well. We're waiting for a bit of dialogue where 2B says, "I told you to shut up," and at that point, ideally you would want Angles to be finishing up an attack, because once that point of dialogue hits, the next attack he will do is a scripted punch that will progress us to the next phase. So a bit more luck here. You can get unlucky, and he can be starting a very long attack when she says those particular words. So we'll see how it goes. It's not nearly as big a deal as the earlier instance of randomness. Looks like Shabu did get unlucky. You see, he started shooting that laser right as soon as 2B said, "I told you to shut up," and you can definitely tell Fudgecow taking the lead here. Both runners using the pod program, and the flight unit shoots out a bunch of missiles. You're not supposed to know about that yet, but they don't tell you about it until later, but you can still use it. And then just 3 punches here with Ingle's arm to finish him off. And this is a really close race. Looks like they're literally about 2 seconds apart here. So now they're going to make their way over to 9S. You'll see both of them, Fudgecow jumping over a trigger and Shabu doing a heavy attack over the trigger. There are, when there's a cutscene or a point of like dialogue, there's sort of a trigger where if you walk into it, 2B will be forced to do the slow walk animation for a certain amount of distance. We want to minimize that slow walk whenever possible, so we will try to jump over the trigger or be doing some sort of attack or something that gets us as far as possible past that, just to avoid all that slow walk time. So coming up on the menuing section of the game, we have to set up some settings.
Morning.
Very, very close here. So we'll see whose mashing's faster here.
Nice.
Huh?
Mashing does matter in text.
Oh,
Alright, so there is a dialogue skip that they can do here. If you talk to 9S and bring up the dialogue, like Fudgecow did, and walk into that dialogue trigger that's right there, it will cancel it, and it's a pretty significant time save. You got a very, very nice comparison there on walking into the dialogue and being forced into the slow walk versus skipping it. You can also do the same thing where you sort of jump through there or do a heavy attack over, which sort of minimizes the time loss.
They can't mass produce these things yet.
So coming up to the flight units here, we have another short shmup section before we get into the city.
Hey, 2B, why do you think they sent a combat model like you to a recon job? If all they want is intel, we scanner models are built for that kind of thing.
Orders are orders.
Alright, alright.
So you see them using the pod program here on like the very first spawn, just to take it out as soon as possible. It's very, very spawn dependent if using pod programs actually faster or not. So just a few more spawns here. A couple more flyers, and then there'll be 2 of these fidget spinner enemies. Again, you're going as soon as they come down, you're going to see Fudge using pod program on one of them just to take them out as soon as possible. Shabu getting unlucky there. The second fidget spinner decided to do that spinning attack. You have to stay away from it because otherwise you will get your light attacks interrupted. And additionally, we do not have any recovery items at this point, so it is possible to take a lot of damage here. Dying is very, very bad at this point in the game.
Target location acquired. Marking
So a
on
long
map.
plunge
Proposal.
off of this
Proceed to
building.
target location.
Oh, that's a little loud. So plunge is just a dash attack in
According
a
to our
heavy
intel,
when you're
none
in
of the
the
machines
air.
in this area are hostile.
Goes
We've been
downwards at
seeing
a
more and more
45
enemies
degree
like
angle
this
very,
lately.
very
They
quickly.
just stand there and stare into
And
space.
we'll want to utilize that
pretty
whenever
weird.
possible. Where's the volume here?
So this is the resistance camp, huh? We should
There we
probably go
go.
talk to their leader first thing.
Number 2. Please.
You see Shabu getting forced to do that slow walk animation. But arriving at the resistance camp here, we have to talk to the supply trader and the weapon trader, get a fetch
Target
quest
location
from each
data
of them,
obtained. Marking on
and we'll
map.
have to complete these 2 quests before we can progress with the main story.
This must have been quite a city once upon a time. Too bad vegetation's claimed most of it now.
Operator 60 to 2B. It is time for your regularly scheduled contact.
This is 2B. Nothing to report.
Good to hear. Say, how's the weather on Earth today? Good?
It's fine. Does that question have anything to do with our operation?
Not really. I just figured it might feel nice to have some good weather.
Feeling that.
That should be enough. Let's get these back to the trader. Plant life is
Really
close to
just
the central area.
collecting
Big
the
plants,
items
too.
for,
Report.
I believe,
Records
the
show that
weapon trader
vegetation has
quest
grown to
there.
abnormal size since the departure of
Using
the
slow
rest.
mode just to sort of
Wonder if there are any huge
prevent
boars
those
and such,
bipeds
too.
from attacking him. And then coming here, we need to get 3 drops for the supply trader. They sort of fly out of the enemies a bit
Okay,
randomly.
that's
They're
everything
not
the
like
supply
normal
trader asked
drops.
for.
Looks like Fudge didn't have any issues there.
Man,
It's
these
possible to get
chores are a
trolled and
real
have an
pain in
enemy
the
actually
butt,
drop
huh?
just a
The
normal item.
resistance is a valuable ally
So you
to
pick
your
up 3
help.
items,
By
you
helping them,
think you're
we
done,
also
but
help
you're actually not.
ourselves.
There might be
So no,
the
I
actual
don't think
quest
they're a
item
pain.
is hidden in a
Yeah,
bush or
yeah.
something. Sometimes they fly a bit far away, or they happen to land inside a bush and they're a bit hard to see. So we're required to talk to that masked lady, and then we're going to turn in these quests. Luckily, from doing the weapon trader quest, we get the materials required to upgrade our short sword from level 1 to level 2. In the prologue, we had the short sword and the long sword, but after prologue, you only start with just the short sword. Luckily for us, it's the best weapon in the game overall, so not a big deal. Looks like Fudge accidentally declined Anemone's quest there, so it looks like
Pod 042 to operator.
Shabu did
Coordinates
manage to
confirmed for
catch up
location
there.
Specified by resistance leader.
It's very, very
Understood,
close once
042.
again.
Placing marker on target. The desert heat is going to make
So we'll get
resupply efforts
a good
difficult.
idea of
Please make sure
who
you're
has the
ready
better
before you
movement.
go.
In the section right here, they're going to go on foot to the desert camp. Oh, Fudge having a bit of an issue trying to get over this barrier. And Shabu mainly just taking the lead just from having nice clean movement. So coming up here to the desert camp, they're going to do their first set of buys. They're going to buy some animal bait, buy some medium recovery, some attack buffs, and they're going to buy a resilience chip. And we need to buy this chip. It makes combat a lot easier because as long as you are over 80% health,
Map data, huh?
enemy attacks
Hard to
will
get an
not
accurate
stagger
picture
you
from this.
or interrupt
Our satellite
your
resolution
attacks.
isn't so high.
And since
Hopefully they deploy some new
we always
satellites
try to
soon.
heal as
A
soon as we
general
get hit,
idea is good enough.
regardless, that'll
don't
pretty
let
much
anything
always
get in your
be in
way, do
effect
you?
to where we can just spam those spinning swords without really having to worry about getting hit. And then there was an out-of-bounds clip there by that transporter. These two are neck and neck right now. We'll see if they can get
opens a
this
sealed
barricade
gate
skip
with
first try.
explosives?
Nice,
There's
both
gotta
of
be an
them
easier way, right?
getting barricade skip first try and doing this out of bounds movement in order to skip the desert discovery cutscene. We'll see there is a trigger that they're required to pick up. Looks like Fudgecow unfortunately clipping in bounds. Shabu having a bit of trouble trying to get this required trigger here.
This sand sure
There it
is
goes.
slippery.
He does get it finally. But Fudge is still ahead despite clipping in bounds and having to wait for the cutscene. That's one of the risks to doing that out of bounds movement. I think it only saves about 4 or 5 seconds, and if you have an issue like that where you can't quite get the trigger, you know, you're actually losing a bunch of time relative to just taking the intended route and just getting the cutscene.
Careful. We've got enemies approaching.
So doing some sand sliding here. They took a short detour to pick up Pod C. So now they have 2 pods, which means they have 2 lasers. Technically they have 3 lasers. There's a bit of a glitch that they can do where if you have Pod A and you hold down Pod Fire, you'll charge up the laser and it'll charge up the second pod's laser as well. But if you do it with Pod A equipped, it won't put Pod C on cooldown, so then you can swap the Pod C and do another laser. So we go from 1 laser to effectively 3 lasers. We'll see Fudgecow. He's going to try and plunge against this rock right as our friend Don Burrows is jumping into the dirt. Fudgecow not able to get it, neither was Shabu, so you'll see they'll have to take, it'll take them a bunch of dashes to get up to this cutscene. You'll see Shabu do a clip here. He's going to try to clip in bounds and then plunge against this wall, or plunge into this void to trigger the cutscene.
Apartment complex.
And then plunging down here, making their way to the rundown apartment complexes. You're intended to go through this area and chase Don Burrows through here, have a bunch of mini cutscenes, but we can just plunge into this building at the right angle, clip inside, and we don't have to bother with any of that. We can just go straight towards what we call the Atom Pit here, where we fight Atom for the first time. There is one required trigger that you're required to get in the tunnel above, so using the short sword for some horizontal distance, we can get close enough to get that trigger and then land on this platform to start this pit fight. You'll see Fudgecow, he's going to use a few buffs here, and this is where he's changing weapon set 1 to be the same as weapon set 2. So now he can throw out a short sword, change weapon sets, and throw out another one. So just increasing the damage output here. When you change weapons, it doesn't actually remove the spinning sword from the previously equipped weapon set. So very, very useful. So at this point, this is a time sequence. So since we have to wait, it's good to try and kill as many as robots as possible, not only for experience, but they can also drop plug-in chips, and we want to get as many critical chips as we can. You don't have any base critical percent hit chance in this game. You have to have chips. You have to have critical chips in order to have any crit chance at all. So taking out as many of these machines as possible is a big deal, and a self-destruct right before the cutscene just to try to take some more out. And all these drops after, like right before or after these boss fights, the game will auto-loot all the stuff that gets dropped, so you don't actually have to pick it up yourself. And it also doubles the drops as well, so it picks them up twice for some reason. So Fudgecow is on the Atom fight now. He did skip a phase. He skipped the sword dodge phase, Normally, when you don't deal damage very quickly, Adam will go into like a little mini cutscene. Fudge was able to skip that. We'll see if Shabu can do it as well. Looks like he was not able to skip sword dodge, unfortunately. Fudgecow just finishing up Adam here.
Come on! Through that hole!
Looks like a very good Adam fight for Fudgecow. See how Shabu does. Getting hit a couple times. This is a very frustrating fight, actually. It's one of the harder ones, at least for me. It's easy to lose a lot of time there. Adam can do some very annoying attacks. So Fudgecow making his way to this box here. He's going to try and do another out-of-bounds clip here. He's going to do a pod launch to clip out of bounds, and then as soon as he clips out, he's going to cancel the pod launch with a dash so that he stays out of bounds. Then he is going to make his way within the radius of that transporter that he activated earlier on. Then he's just going to do a save and a load. If you go the intended inbounds route, you will trigger some dialogue before you actually make it into the save radius, and you cannot save during that dialogue. So that's the reasoning for going out of bounds there, is we can skip that dialogue, just do a save and load. Saves a lot of time just because we use loadless, but it also saves. It's also faster real time as well.
Data upload complete.
Roger.
I also have an incoming message from the commander. Initiating playback.
Shabu having a little bit of trouble there. Fell off the ledge, had to void out and respawn, but
their black boxes are online, so we presume they're still alive. We've tracked the
make it
location of
to
their signals, so I need
the save
all
radius.
units on the surface to head over and investigate. End transmission.
I heard
so now they're going to make their way from
resistance
desert to the amusement park through the sewers.
Target location confirmed. I'm worried about the other androids.
Really not much to mention here besides just good movement.
Surface route's been cut off. Maybe we can get through from underground. So 2B, those machines out in the desert look just like androids, right?
Right.
But we androids were modeled after our human creators. So why would machines try to look like us?
There's no point trying to work out unsolvable problems.
I suppose.
So coming up here to the amusement park, there is a little small time save here. You can get a lift or a double lift off of this route, which will enable you to get enough height to where you can make it over a cutscene trigger. Only saves about 2 seconds.
Wow.
1 or 2 seconds. But nicely done by Fudge. And then coming up here to another out of bounds area. He's going to clip through here and do some pod spins to cross this gap. Nicely done, and this will allow him to take a more direct path to the roller coaster instead of having to, you know, kind of go around the intended route. Picking up a required trigger there by that corner, just to get the tank spawned. If you don't hit that trigger, you are not able to enter the bar fight.
That propels humans on rails at high speeds for the purposes of amusement. It was commonly referred to as a...
So now he's on the auto scroller coaster. He's going to fight some enemies here and wait for the roller coaster to do its thing. We'll see how Shabu does with this clip.
Hey, 2B?
Yes?
Nicely done. This pod spin section here can be a little tricky sometimes. If your timing is a bit off, you can void out, or if you accidentally dash off, like Shabu did. Looks like he's still good. Yeah, just has to sort of reorient himself. When you void out and respawn in this game, it can be pretty disorienting sometimes. Sometimes it takes a couple seconds to like get your bearings back of where exactly you're oriented. So let's see. Looks like Fudgecow did manage to get level 8 on the roller coaster. That's good. That'll make Brevard Phase 1 a little easier.
Alert. Multiple
I can't. Looks like Shabu's still level 7. I'll keep an eye on his screen, see if he gets level 8. Looks like he does.
Our records don't say anything about a machine like
So
this.
Fudgecow is going to try just to put as much damage on Brevard as possible here. Damage her down to threshold so that she stays very close to the stage. If you're too slow to deal damage, she'll go a bit farther out, and then that obviously will take her longer to make it back onto the stage for the next like little hacking minigame phase here.
It's trying to hack us. If we take hacking damage, it'll affect our bodies as well.
And Shabu about to start the fight here. Let's see if he can manage to get a good first phase.
I don't think. 2B. I'm detecting black box signals.
Fudge taking out these dead androids or corrupted androids, hijacked androids, whatever. This section can be tricky and or frustrating. You'll see right there Fudgecow getting hit by a shockwave from one of the androids. Puts you in another little hacking minigame, wastes about 6 seconds or so. Your camera angle is a little wonky here, so it's very easy to get hit by that.
Keep it busy. You got it.
Sometimes right as the android comes on screen for your camera, it'll throw out one of those shockwave attacks. It can be very, very frustrating. Fudge taking out some of these androids. You don't have to take those out, but they can drop small recoveries, which you can use for a strat coming up soon. Self-destruct right as the boss dies. That's necessary for a death warp that they're going to do coming up here.
So,
What is it?
Looks like Fudge did get some small recoveries, or he might have actually bought
The machines
one
don't
at the
have
Resistance
feelings.
camp.
You
I
said
didn't
that
notice.
yourself.
Some people rely on the luck
guess.
from those android drops, and some people just buy one small recovery at the desert camp. But the reason for a small recovery is that you cannot use self-destruct when you're only at 1 HP. So we'll see what Fudge does here. Self-destruct is useful for a clip coming up in a couple minutes, as well as right here. It's easier to make it up on top of this platform without self-destruct, but great job by Fudge there, getting up there without needing self-destruct at all. Self-destruct lets you do an additional heavy attack in the air, which gives you just a little bit more height than you would otherwise have.
So
Not
why
necessary
don't the
for a
machines,
lot
the
of
aliens who
things,
created
for a
them,
lot of
attack the bunker
movement, but
directly?
it
They originally came
does
here
make
from
a lot
outer
of stuff
space, right?
well, there are a
more
few theories
consistent.
about that, but no one knows for sure. Hard to tell what an alien is thinking, you know?
They all have white flags.
Looks like they really don't want to fight.
So now just a bit of back and forth between Pascal's village and the Resistance camp. Just some sort of throwaway quests, have to take an item from here to there. Okay, Fudgecow using the small recovery. This will make it easier to clip through this box coming up here. You can
We
use
can get into the
self-destruct to
city
cancel
ruins if we move
animation,
that
so you can
box.
do a plunge and then self-destruct right away, and that'll keep your
Operator
momentum,
6-0,
but it'll
this is
sort of remove the big sword
Time for
hitbox.
your regularly
It
scheduled
makes it easier to fit through that little space and clip out.
2B
Oh.
here. What's wrong?
Accidentally canceled the bait animation with a jump.
There's this operator at kind of
Putting the
my
bait down,
When I asked
not
her
in the
out,
best of spots.
she turned me
These
down.
animals are pretty special. They
Honestly, QB.
it can take them a long time to find the food that you put down.
I am definitely
So,
not the person to discuss
Bit of a
this
time
with.
loss there from Fudge. That'll help
I
Shabu
don't
out.
think I can stand spending one more
sure.
day in this bunker.
You leaving would be bad for me. It would affect
Fudgecow
mission
did get a boar,
efficiency.
so he could do what we call boar jumping. You just spam jump, and it is slightly faster than sprinting
All Model
on
B
the boar,
combat
I
units
believe.
require the assistance of an operator.
Might
So,
only be on the small boar. I'm not positive, but I think
that's
he
all.
has a
Closing this-
large boar. Jumping up the slope there. But once he stops, he did lose some speed, so I don't know. We see Shabu getting a small boar here, so here we go. Gonna see the best movement tech in the game. Mash the jump button with the boar.
What do you think?
It's pretty hype.
You just...
Now do you believe we're not a threat?
Your mouth can say...
So another thing that we can do is, since we ride the animal right to the resistance camp, we can shoot it and have it attack us. It's the fastest way to die in this situation, is to get killed by the enemy, or not the enemy, but the animal that we ride in.
Well, what
And
do you
since we
think?
saved at Pascal's village, we will respawn at Pascal's village, so we don't have to travel there ourselves. We can just warp there.
Fair.
What's that noise?
2B, this is an emergency transmission from the bunker. We're reading a Goliath-class enemy inside the city ruins, and it looks like there
So
are
now
a
that
ton
we've
of
gotten
other
that
machines
out of the
with
way,
it. All your high units should proceed
they're going to have
and engage
to make their
immediately.
way to
Goliath?
some flight units that are on top of the building.
I knew it!
There are a couple angles in the city here that we have to deal with, or maybe not deal
2B.
with.
Command is deploying new flight units for us. They just sent the coordinates, so let's get going.
On it.
So just another section, just basically pure movement until we get up on top of the building a bit later.
We probably shouldn't get near that guy's feet. Yeah, no. Let's find another route. The flight units should be on the roof of that building up ahead. It'll be dangerous, but we're not going anywhere unless we pass through that Goliath's legs. We should be careful.
Alright, so Fudgecow is coming up to this Metal Gear Solid ladder, a really, really long ladder, falling off a bit. So he's gonna probably do around 14 or 15 jumps on this ladder. Then you're intended to fight one of these angles on top of this building, but we can actually do a double jump, and it is possible to clip out of bounds, or clip through an invisible wall there. Fudge not getting it, so he's going to have to go for the backup. We can do a double lift off the sloped rock, and then we get enough height to get over the invisible wall. Skip this angles completely,
Copy that.
make our way to the flight units, and then we only have to defeat one angles. We'll see if Shabu can get this out of bounds, double jump dash. If he does, that's closing the gap by a little. We'll see if he can do it. Oh, not quite. Let's see if he can get the backup first try. Yeah, it looks like he Gets the first try back up, so he did finish that a bit quicker than Fudge. Fudge using 2 pod programs right there on Ingle's right shoulder. In that specific spot, the missiles that come out in a circle around you, all of those will hit him. Very, very fast fight there if you do it correctly.
Yorha, this is your commander. For the first time in centuries, we've intercepted a signal belonging to the aliens.
So now Fudge
These
making his way
direct command of the machine life
towards
forms on
the
this
what we call
planet.
negotiation
If we can
section.
destroy them, we can end this long and arduous war once and for all.
But it seems to be underground. Like way underground.
Guess we'll see once we get there. If we're lucky.
You're not much for plans, are you?
We're going into this tunnel here. We're gonna go check out this alien spaceship that's down here in the city ruins.
These dead machines. Seems like they've been here for a long time.
What is this place?
I don't know. There's nothing like it in the database.
So here we have a little time sequence here.
To be.
By timed, I mean we have to wait for Adam to finish all of his dialogue. Adam talks a lot in this run.
Centuries ago by us.
So while he's talking, we are going to defeat Eve one time just to get some experience, and then we can actually clip out of bounds here and just do some other stuff in the tunnels while we're waiting for Adam to finish talking.
You'd probably be surprised at how quickly it happened.
You destroyed your own creators?
Oh, there's no need to fret about them. They were simple, infantile, almost like plants, I guess you'd say. They held no value to us, but the humans on the moon...
So yeah, this is the part of the game where we find out that the aliens have actually been dead all along.
An enigma. They killed uncountable numbers of their own kind, and yet loved in equal measure. It's fascinating, don't you think?
Alright, so now that he's finished off Eve once, he's just going to try and evade one of Eve's attacks and get a counterattack, and then from there he can do the lift heavy, jump heavy, self-destruct heavy, dash to get over that wall, get out of bounds, and then do some more aerial movement here to get over another invisible wall, make his way through the tunnels.
Drag their secrets forth into the light. Surely you see the attraction in this.
So now that he's in these tunnels, he can take out some of these machines in here, not only for experience, but it also clears the way for when he has to travel back through this section after all this dialogue is over.
The same way we destroyed
this game has auto-targeting. When you do a heavy attack, you will attack towards an enemy if it's close enough and on screen. So by taking those machines out there, he can do the dash swinging type of movement without having to worry about automatically targeting an enemy and
this is Operator
losing
60.
time
We
due
now
to
have
that.
an operational transporter in the city ruins. We're attempting to deploy them at
So
other points as well.
Shabu also trying
About time we
to
had access to those.
Care to fill me in?
get out of bounds here,
Transporters?
get back in the
They
tunnels,
let you
and
transfer
do
your
the same
consciousness
thing.
to a temporary body back in the bunker. I heard.
Hey, you're coming up next.
So
Their flight.
So jumping on that ladder there cancels some dialogue. Lets us save some time getting to the bunker here. Fudge having some issues selecting yes on the bunker transport. This game, when you're doing the transporter menuing, you have to wait probably about 30 frames or so before it'll register a left input to change to yes. So that was just him pressing left, probably just a couple frames too early, and then pressing A and actually selecting no instead of yes. You definitely have to play it a bit safe here, probably wait more like 35 to 40 frames before trying to press left, just so you don't have to go through that little multiple cancel section. Fudge with another pause there. Not sure what's going
rest
on.
a little bit, 2B.
It's probably like
It's been a while.
3
I'll
or
rest
4
if I
random
feel like
pauses so far in this run. Fudge did do another partner dialogue skip there, opening 9S's dialogue and walking into another dialogue trigger, just canceling both dialogues out. So Shabu not too far behind, honestly. Trying to open that dialogue. Not the fastest dialogue skip, but it got the job done. I think he still saved time there over waiting the dialogue out. So now that Fudge is back at Pascal's village, he's going to do the second set of buying here. First, he's going to sell his small buffs and sell some of these non-essential HUD elements, such as, you know, the mini-map and the save points and all that stuff. And now he's going to max out his medium recoveries, buy a bunch of large melee and range buffs. And he is going to configure his plug-in chips right now. He's going to equip that resilience chip first off, check his attack chips. And that's just what he wanted. He got 2 critical +1 chips. So those crit +1 chips, that give each crit +1 gives you a 2% critical chance, so that is 4% total.
What? When do you think you'll be willing to call me 9s?
4% total crit chance for Fudge.
Well, yeah,
and he's just going to make his way to the sort of shopping center up here across the bridge. We see Shabu doing his buys. Shabu buying defensive buffs as well. This will make combat a lot safer for him, although you do lose some frames every time that you buff up due to having to use the 4 buff items instead of just 2.
The records say it was once a facility known as a shopping
I don't think he
center.
has equipped any chips yet, so we'll see what he does. Right now he's doing what we call mom skip, where if you can get high enough in the air and maintain that height, you can make it over a quest trigger that just plays a meaningless cutscene. Meaningless in terms of it's not like a main story quest.
Who the heck is the Forest King?
Another partner dialogue skip there on Fudge's screen. That's one of the larger ones. I think that saves about 10 seconds or so. Making short work of those 4 robots there, and he is now going to make his way through the forest to the castle. See Shabu doing the dialogue skip right now.
Here they come.
And this section's really just good movement, good pathing. There's a lot of like weird rocks and stuff, so you really need to find the right angles to dash at so that you stay on the ground. If you don't dash in like the optimal directions, you'll sort of just dash off a ledge, and then you'll have a bit of a falling animation, which is a lot slower than doing these dash swings.
Don't listen to what they're saying, 2B.
Did anybody see Shabu equip any chips? Please let me know what he equipped if you did happen to catch anything. So Fudge making his way up to a little skip here that we call Mario Kart. He's going to do a lift, some heavies, and plunge onto this hill. It's going to hold self-destruct to get underneath that drawbridge, void out, and respawn on the drawbridge. Much faster than taking the intended route. And then he is going to dash into this route and do a punch in order to clip out of bounds here. Nicely done. And then instead of going through the castle, we can just use these sort of window arches here and just use this to make it up to the top floor of the castle here. Get on these steps that are out of bounds and inaccessible via normal means. Really surprised that those stairs actually have collision. Looks like Shabu actually self-destructed when he was doing that. Interesting. And we'll see the other method to clip out of bounds on Shabu's screen, where he's doing a pod lunge on that side of the route instead of doing a dash punch on the opposite side.
Annihilation? But why?
Let's go, 9S.
2B?
So coming up to A2 here, one of the more like erratic bosses. She can just at any moment decide to disengage, disappear off screen, and either attack from the sky or run across the entirety of the ground while being pretty much unhittable or untargetable. You kind of want her to just sit there in front of you attacking, or sitting in front of you sunlocked. Crits help a lot with this fight. If you get a lot of crits early, you can take her out pretty quickly. It looks like Fudge had an okay fight. After the fight, instead of chasing A2 off the castle, we go back the way we came from, do some aerial movement to get over a sort of invisible wall, and we could take this teleporter straight to Fudgecow's village. If we take the intended route off the castle, we have to wait for a lot of dialogue. Probably about 90 seconds of dialogue before we can teleport back to Fudgecow's village. I saw Shabu just equip some chips there, but I didn't catch which ones they were. They looked like attack chips, but I couldn't see which ones.
It'll be fast.
Shabu having good luck with A2 here. She's getting stunned a lot. Looks like a pretty good fight from Shabu.
Let's stay sharp and head back to the resistance camp. We should run a check on our consciousness data and resupply.
So now Fudge's got to make his way from Fudgecow's village back to the resistance camp.
Why did you ask Pascal about A2?
Huh?
It's not recommended to interface with machines without consulting command.
Thanks, 2B.
Still, machines are the enemy. Don't forget it.
Oh, it's the source, and of course.
So Fudgecow jumped between that box and that computer there, and 2B will kind of hover there and actually clip out of bounds. And then from there, we can do a double plunge down to this area here by the teleporter, and then get some more height to trigger a required cutscene before we do another plunge down to the flooded city. So he's going to plunge down in this direction and hopefully
let's take him out already so I can be home
void
in time
out
for dinner
and
in the bath.
respawn
Androids
here on the shore.
need to bathe.
Nicely done.
As long as you perform regular cleaning and maintenance, bathing is unnecessary.
Yeah, but come on, 2B. It's still.
So we just have a few robots to take out here. That big guy can be kind of trolly sometimes. And then a few of these shield bipeds. And this fidget spinner here can be kind of a jerk. But I'm just going to charge up a double laser there. Do a third one. Now he can... Yeah, there we go. Not quite dead yet. Normally what you want to do there is do like a lift and a heavy attack and a plunge in the air while you're charging the laser, just to get some extra damage on the fidget spinner.
I think that's the last of the machines.
Still not too bad. Shabu getting the void out as well. So now we're starting the Grun section here. This beginning SMUP section, sort of same approach as the prologue. You want to take out the last enemy of the wave as soon as possible, put the rest to the next wave. So looks like Shabu is... Let's see. Yeah, Shabu about 50 seconds behind Fudgecow right now. Definitely still plenty of race left. 50 seconds is not that much time.
Attention, this is Carrier Blue Ridge 2. Requesting support from any friendly units in range. We've come under heavy fire from the enemy.
So now on Fudge's screen, this is essentially just an auto-scroller.
We're currently resisting with all remaining
all these,
support fighters,
there
but
are
we
a bunch of
can't hold them
waves
off
of
for
these
long.
flyers, but it doesn't really matter how fast you kill them. It's really, the main reason it's important to kill them as fast as possible is just so 9S doesn't kill them and steal your experience, because if he gets the final blow on an enemy, you get no experience for any damage that you do. It's last hit only, so 9S will definitely steal all the kills from you if you let him. So now that we're in this auto-scroller, I'll take the time to mention that we do have a bounty.
I'm picking up a large-scale enemy.
So the
inbound.
bounty for
Looks to be
finding
2.8
a way
clicks
to skip
southwest of
this
us.
auto-scroller section is, I think, at $2,200, and a homemade curry pizza, and a caffeinated alcoholic beverage. I believe that's the current bounty if you can find a way to skip this section of the game. Fudgecow on the Goliath flyer right now, pretty straightforward mini-boss here. You just buff up, use the 2 pod programs right away, spam pod fire and heavy attack, and then when your cooldowns are done for the pods, use those again.
Wait, I'm still picking up a large enemy.
Very,
presence.
very consistent
Didn't
fight.
I kill that already?
What on? If it's that big, we should be able to see it.
Is that a machine?
It's freaking huge.
Did anybody see what chips
blocking
Shabu
close
got
range
though?
attacks
I'm
with
like
EMP
super
blast.
curious about that.
Gotta find another way to damage it.
2B, Command is attempting to launch a satellite laser strike on your target, but the enemy's electromagnetic camouflage is making it impossible to aim. We need you to find the emitter and take it out. Oh, is that all? I know, but it's the only way.
EMP generator target confirmed. Marking on map. Proposal. Destroy the generator.
I'm just
quickly.
curious if you got any like crit +2s, because that would actually help him out a bit. Because Fudgecow's at 4% crit rate right now, I believe. So if Shabu did happen to get like a crit +2 and a crit +1, he has a bit of an advantage there. At least just going by the numbers, it's still, you know, luck to actually get the crits. But you definitely prefer to have the higher crit rate, obviously.
Enemy data obtained from command.
Go ahead.
The only known record of this machine life form is a lone sighting 320 years ago. Upon reaching land, the unit unleashed a devastating electromagnetic wave attack. All resistance fighters in the vicinity were annihilated.
So basically, if this thing reaches land, we're screwed.
Affirmative.
So Fudgecow coming up here to the first of 3 shield generators that we have to take out. You have a very short amount of time to take out 2 nodes. Fudgecow doing a good job there, taking out both the first 2 nodes before the sort of structure rotated. If you don't kill the second node fast enough, it can actually rotate 180 degrees, so the last 2 are untargetable for 1 cycle or maybe 2 cycles. Shabu equipped chips after
Come
A2.
on! It's got an electromagnetic
Or like right
barrier
before
over its
A2,
whole
something
body?
like that.
Having trouble over there?
Are you Yorha?
Hunter Squadron deploying out of North 12th D Defense
Yeah, I'm
HQ.
not really sure why he
Commanding
waited so
Officer
long
4B.
past
Don't
those
worry,
4
we'll
machines
take
in
it
the
from
shopping
here.
district to equip chips. That doesn't really make sense.
2B, let's leave
Yeah,
this
and
area
you see
to the
Shabu,
reinforcements.
exactly
I have an
what
idea.
I was talking about.
You and I should meet up at the
Took
spot
out
I
the
just
second
marked.
node a little too slowly, and he just got exactly what I was saying. They were untargetable for 2 cycles.
We've got mortars
So that's,
lining the
I don't know,
shoreline
probably
here.
about
All the
10
EMP
seconds or so
shielding in the
time
world
lost from
won't
that.
help against close-range mortar fire.
Got it.
I'll help aim.
So we get a little break from this mup section here. Unfortunately, all we
This thing's
do
armor
is
is too
fire
thick.
this
We need more firepower.
mortar cannon.
2B, let's try for a more direct approach.
Direct? Oh, right.
That's right. Lay down some fire in its stupid mouth.
So 3 shots sticker in with this. If you just spam the button after the first attack, you'll have no problem getting them.
That enormous machine is an ancient
So I see
weapon.
Fullest is telling me he had 2 crit plus zeros. Wow, that's unfortunate. One of those crit plus zeros like had a huge space requirement, like probably like 11 or something. That's crazy.
The moment it reached land, it went berserk and
It's
began
better than nothing
attacking
though. So it looks like he is at 2% crit
No one
chance.
could figure out
Fudge is
how
at
to stop
4%.
it. They eventually marooned it deep in the ocean, but it seems to be searching for a way back.
Thanks, Fullest.
Hey, 2B, I think I have another idea. You keep that thing right where it is, okay?
What?
Please, 2B, this is gonna work.
Yeah, the plug-in chips do take up varying amounts of space.
9S is leaving the front
Obviously,
lines.
you want them to take up as little space as possible so you can fit as many
No!
as you have.
He has a plan. Just hold on.
Yeah, the crit drops though,
2B,
very, very
I'm going to see
luck-based.
if we can use those
Sometimes
missiles
you'll
back
get
on the
no
shore.
attack chips at
But I
all.
need you to
Sometimes
destroy
you'll
the
get
EMP
like
unit on that
10
thing's
crit
back.
chips.
Otherwise, they're just going to go off
I
course.
know there was a race a couple days ago where Marble Soda got like 10 crit chips at least. Crazy stuff sometimes. And then sometimes you just get 0 attack chips period or 0 chips period. So the second shield generator here on Fudgecow's side of the screen. See if you can take this out before it rotates. Oh, just a little bit too slow. There's actually a way that you can make that safer. You can use a pod program or the first or second node just to guarantee that both will be dead a little sooner, which should prevent getting a unlucky rotation there. It looks like a pretty good second generator from Fudgecow. Shabu doing a real early pod program there. I get what he was going for, but that's kind of risky, I think. I respect it though. Shabu having a pretty good second generator as well. And coming up to the third generator, Fudgecow. Same thing as the second, basically. Looks like he should be good. Yep. Took out that second node in time, so should make quick work of the last generator. Yeah, those three generators, the most important part of the entirety of this current section here. But looks like both guys not really losing much time. Just I think Shabu had a bit of trouble with the very first one. So Fudge waiting out there just to respawn a bit closer to his destination, the sewers. Now that we finished Grun, we're now looking for 9S. You're supposed to start this dialogue with 6-0, but by voiding out, you sort of skip that dialogue. You get told to go to the resistance camp for some information on a scanner or something, but you don't actually have to do that. You can just go straight to this underground elevator to get up to Copied City. So right here, if I'm just going to get a very specific lineup here to do what we call a heavy hold, you just walk forward and hold the heavy attack button, and you get enough forward momentum to clip out in a lot of places. So you can see Fudge clipping out of bounds and doing a plunge down right outside of the elevator. It's faster than taking the intended route where you go throughout the entirety of the sewers and then sort of plunge down to the bottom of the city ruins.
What is this?
Analysis. This area is composed of crystallized silicon and carbon.
What's with the corpse?
We'll see how Shabu does here with Copy City Clip, as we call it.
The enemy must have placed them here deliberately.
Or we, machine life forms, I suppose, have a keen interest.
And then for Fudge, there's a similar sort of clip. It's not quite as strict of an angle.
The more human
but
records
same
I
concept.
unearth,
He's going to get
the
some
more
height and
charmed
clip out
I
of
am
bounds
by their
here.
complexity. This city is one of many areas I created out of a desire to
So normally you have to
understand,
wait
to know
probably about 90 seconds
humans.
for Adam to
It's grand,
finish
don't you think?
talking. He talks for,
Almost
like I said, he talks for a long time
And yet
throughout
it's
this
currently
run.
nothing more than an android
But luckily we
graveyard.
can clip out of bounds
I
and
seek
make our way
to
back
learn
to the
and
elevator
adopt
that
all
we
facets of humanity.
traveled up here
Some
on.
desired love, others family.
And then we're going to wait until
Only
Adam
then.
says only then, and then we're going to enter this elevator, which will
Let's move.
cause our pod to start talking, which will interrupt Adam's dialogue,
I have severed
which
my connection to the network.
will start the Adam fight here a lot quicker. Probably probably about a 45-second
Let us
time save,
embrace death.
something like that, over just waiting all the dialogue out. So pretty significant.
I don't have time for you. I need to find 9S.
So our second fight with Adam here. This can be a bit scary depending on what attacks Adam chooses. He can two-shot you.
Come.
when he's taunted. Taunt, if I didn't mention it, you spam your flashlight at an enemy enough, they will go into like an enraged state where they deal 50% more damage and take 50% more damage. So since we're not that high of a level, Adam can two-shot us here, especially without any sort of defensive buffs. But Fudge not having any major problems there. Taking care of Adam pretty quickly. Shabu does have defensive buffs, so he's at even less of a risk of dying. With defensive risks, it's very, very hard to actually die in this run. Fudgecow opened up that NPC's dialogue as he was jumping, which allowed him to cancel a pretty long dialogue with the commander. So since he did that, he can check his inbox at the Resistance camp and start this dialogue that's playing right now between 2B and Pascal.
Do you need something?
So that it's, by the time we arrive at factory, we're already done and Pascal's there waiting for us.
Well, 2 days ago I was contacted by some machines that disconnected themselves from the network.
Not
they wanted
a major time save, but
no kidding.
Apparently,
it is nice.
They're seeking to form an alliance of some kind
before we
village.
skipped that dialogue there with the NPC dialogue,
I believe they're working
we
on
just
building a
had
colony of their
to
own.
get a teleporter that's near this bridge that Fudge is on,
Apparently, it's located
and then
in the
continue on
abandoned
to factory.
I
But
can give you the
we would
coordinates
actually
if
get to
you'd
factory
like.
before the dialogue
I was
finished,
actually
so we
planning
would
to
have
go
to
speak with
wait a
them
bit for
myself,
Pascal to
you know.
actually
Maybe
spawn.
we can meet up over there.
Sounds good.
Target location data
So
obtained.
makes
Marking
things a lot cleaner just being able to skip that dialogue and check the inbox at the Resistance camp.
Oh, Two-Part, the machines who seek to form an alliance with my village are hiding out here. Still, you should probably be careful. We machines can be rather unpredictable.
Even you?
Yeah, not only
Yes.
faster, but
Now that we're cut off from the network,
the flow is a lot better as well. You don't really have to
we can speak, of course.
go nearly as far out of your way.
One's true intentions.
It certainly does.
You enter the domain of God.
So just guessing here, they're probably still pretty close to 50 seconds apart.
You don't have to hurry, so his grace won't run from you.
Fudgecow now has to wait for this machine to slowly walk to this elevator and open it for him. Unfortunately, there is no way to speed this up or do any sort of out-of-bounds clips or anything. We just have to wait. This is one of the few places left in the run, actually, where we do just have to sit around and wait. Pretty much in every other situation, there's always something else that we could be doing, whether it's, you know, during negotiations, like clipping out and killing some machines and picking up items. Here, we just can't do anything at all. Fudgecow opening some dialogue with Pascal here. Normally, Pascal and 2B will have a short little conversation, but by opening that dialogue, that will be skipped, and then the elevator will load the next area a lot sooner. I think it's about a 4-second time save or so. Somewhat recent, but nice little free time save.
Hello, my name is Pascal. I'm here to discuss the peace treaty.
See Fudge just spamming flashlight here. All these enemies getting taunted, even though they're not hostile.
Damn it!
I was right. This is shady. Fascinating, though. I've never seen machines with such...
So Fudge is going to make his way over to this corner. He's going to use slow-mo to keep those robots back farther back and do a pod launch to clip out of bounds. Normally you have to kill a bunch of those robots to get the elevator to unlock, but by clipping out of bounds they actually despawn, which opens up the elevator right away. They do respawn, however, so you see him using slow-mo just to keep them farther away from the elevator so that Pascal doesn't get blocked. Nicely done. Pascal sometimes has a lot of trouble getting inside these elevators, so keeping those machines away helps out a lot with that. So now in this room where 9S has taken control of that robot, Fudgecow is going to do some very specific movement to do a pod launch and clip through the wall there. That will unlock this elevator that we just rode down in. We're going to ride back up to the room that we were in, which is now empty. So now we can clip out of bounds here by this pipe. Kind of a wonky angle here to actually manage to make it out of bounds without plunging through. There we go. He's gonna plunge down here to the bottom of this like silo, and he's going to try to hit a trigger right before voiding out so that he respawns back up top, so he can do this double plunge way farther down, right outside of the boss room. Cuts out a ton of the intended factory route, the way that you're intended to progress throughout this section. Nicely done by Fudgecow, by the way. Shabu's still in the Mook's room, actually. Not sure what happened there. Normally that elevator should have opened up a lot sooner. But overall, pretty nice factory for Fudgecow. He had a bit of trouble getting that last clip out of bounds, but getting that trigger void out before landing on the ground is definitely the most difficult point
now what?
of factory, at least in my opinion. So while he's waiting to fight Mokushi, we see Shabu doing a different version of that out of bounds clip in that 9S room. That's one of the older methods.
Hang in there, 2B. 90%.
Still works, but it is a little slower than what you saw Fudgecow do.
98.
So that Fudgecow was just waiting for all the dialogue to end here before the power goes out, and so she is actually targetable.
I just shut down the electrical grid.
And we'll see if Shabu can get this deep factory skip here. Unfortunately, he lands on the wall there, so he's going to have to go down these stairs, go through the door briefly, and then turn around and go back the way he came. I think that loses, if you land on the ground there, you're probably losing around 40 or 50 seconds. But Fudge finishing up Soshi. We'll see if Shabu decides to... Alright, he's going to risk going underneath these crushers here. Ooh, fired the laser. That's going to be close. Almost gets crushed by the crusher. These crushers instantly kill you, and when you die to these, you start way farther back. It might actually be a soft lock. I'm really not sure. But, so I guess you get a good comparison between that, that void out double plunge and then taking the intended route, or at least the partially intended route. Anyway, Fudgecow leaving factory. He's going through the same section that we saw in the prologue. Pretty much the same clips there, except he has to double jump before doing that pod launch, or he will target some of the robots that are around and will land in the lava and then have to void out and take the intended way out.
That was certainly something. I had no idea such a vast space existed beneath the abandoned factory. I need to return and investigate as soon as possible. When I do, perhaps you'd be willing to join me?
No thanks.
So, looks like Fudgecow is on PB pace.
What about you?
Oh, I'll probably wander back
Somebody
to the
can
village.
correct me if I'm
I have
wrong.
plenty on my plate there.
I see.
This is the resistance camp.
Say
But
again?
I was thinking
I'm
that
not
once you
receiving.
leave
Scanning for interference.
factory, like the last section is something like 8 minutes or so. So
Please, we can...
Let's move. Why
so
are
now
the
he's just
numbers
making his
increasing
way
like this?
back to the resistance camp.
Try contacting the bunker via laser relay system.
Affirmative.
He has to be careful of these machines around him. You can't get too greedy with your dash swings, or you can definitely lose a good amount of time by auto-targeting some of those machines.
Get out of here, now!
So, really the main categories for this game that we have, besides just ending A, is endings A, B, C, D, and E, and then there's also A through Z. Fudgecow, back at the resistance camp, we find out the machines are actually now eating the androids. So we have to take out all of these machines in this little side-scroller area. Some of these larger shield bipeds can have some really slow death animations sometimes. Looks like Fudgecow getting pretty lucky though with the death animations. I didn't see any of the slow ones. Making quick work of that large biped. And now he's going to make his way back to Anemone. Yeah, not sure what was going on there. I'm not sure if he was aware that you can skip that cutscene earlier. But moving up to the Bokushi fight, pretty much the same as the Soshi fight in the factory. His attacks are a little different. He's in this sort of electrified water, but luckily the cooldown time between getting damaged by that water is pretty long.
The Goliath-class enemy screen has suffered the
Looks like Fudge getting good crits on Bokushi here. So now he's going to pray that... Okay. So once that suction attack begins, he can do a self-destruct, finish off some of those stubbies that are around Bokushi, just to get some more experience. And now that he's on the core, what we call the core 1 fight, he's going to force it to follow him up on this hill, just so that he can throw out spinning swords. Just to makes it a lot easier to damage it when it's up on the hill there.
They're still
And
coming?
then just taking out a robot, waiting for the cutscene.
What do? There's too many.
2B? 2B, can you hear me? Our village is under...
Pascal? Come in, Pascal!
Shit!
So Pascal's village is under attack, so we have to make a quick detour over to that sort of barricade between the city and Pascal's village. Take out some robots there, and then we'll fight Core 2 right afterwards.
Damn it! They're here too!
9S! It seems the machines on the network have gone berserk. They've sealed off the entrance to the village and are trying to hold them off, but with these weapons, there's only so much we can do.
Let's take these guys out first.
So just throwing out some spinning swords here to try and hit Core 2 when it's in the air. It might not look like it's targetable, but it actually, you are actually able to hit it. Another dialogue cancel there right after killing it. And that probably saves about 4 or 5 seconds coming up here.
What is this?
If you don't cancel that dialogue,
you'll
have to sit there right at the tower where Eve is sitting. You'll have to wait around there a little longer for the dialogue to end before the cutscene will start, but by canceling it, the cutscene will start as soon as he approaches the tower structure here. So it looks like Fudgecow can definitely PB here. Another random pause here. I'm not sure what's going on. He is not out of the woods yet. Since he doesn't have defensive buffs, he can get 2-shot by Eve here. Right there, it's really dangerous. You saw how much damage one punch from Eve did.
Alert. Massive energy signature detected.
So it looks like he got a nice long attack. Once Eve gets to about half health in phase 1, he can do an attack called platforms, where he pulls these platforms out of the ground, jumps up on top of them, and loses a bunch of time because you have to follow him up there, they're moving around.
I'm going to try hacking into Eve and
very, very annoying, but
back me up, 2B.
he had a good attack pattern there, so he didn't even have to worry about it.
The
enemy is connected to advanced network. Analysis. The actions of Unit 9S. Enemy unit cut off from network functionality.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a proof call here that it's actually Fudgecow playing and not Canaris. Alright, so phase 3 here, Eve's just gonna shoot out projectiles. Since we have the resilience chip, we can just pretty much tank these bullets without having our shots or animations interrupted. A lot of weird inputs going on here on Fudgecow's screen. I think this definitely might be Canaris playing. Pressing the wrong buttons, my mistake.
Alert. NFCS destroyed. Close range.
Alright, so just choosing to sort of wail on Eve with laser is definitely not Canaris. It is. It actually is Fudgecow. Don't worry about it.
It's all because of you!
Phase 4, the only thing we have available is pot fire, so just kind of slowly chasing Eve around here, hoping that he will stay pretty close to us, because once we do damage, he will fall down and we actually have to approach him. You see, he died pretty far away, so just a bit of a time loss having to slowly stumble over to where he's at. But looks like this will be around a 130-130. That's my guess. So it looks like a definite PB for Fudge.
The you that exists at this very moment.
Guess so, but we can't.
So
upload this corrupted data to the
big congratulations to Fudgecow, not only on winning the race, but getting a pretty decent PB as well. About a 30-second PB, looks like. Yeah, 130, 132.
Everything must die!
So nice run from Fudge. Not only a tourney race PB, but a tourney race PB at ESA. Getting everything set up right before the race. Pretty impressive.
Alert. Massive energy signature detected.
What is it?
The energy seems to be coming from a large number of linked machine life forms.
He's absorbing the life force of whatever's left on the network.
Yeah, so 131, that is 14th place, as Dan Flesh said in chat. Pretty good run.
Protecting Unit 9S while he hacks the system.
The enemy is connected to a vast network. Analysis. The actions of Unit 9S have an unacceptably...
And Shabu just finishing up Eve here. He's not actually buffed up. Not sure if he tried to skip phase 2. You can actually get a sort of a phase 2 skip where when he's regenerating health, you are spamming those spinning swords, and as long as you prevent his health from filling up completely, 9S will hack him right away after the dialogue finishes.
Hi.
Hey, congratulations, Fudgecow. pretty.
I'm gonna try to find a quiet area.
Sure.
Alright, should be good here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
FPV.
Yeah. Congrats on PV, man. That's pretty impressive, especially like I was saying at ESA in a tournament race, when you kind of just set up everything right beforehand.
Yeah, a pretty messed up PC. But yeah. No. I'm sorry to hear any screaming in the background.
Is that a Kanaris yelling in the background?
No, just people, other people getting TVs as well.
Yeah, nice. Any thoughts on that run?
Eve, I hate Eve.
Eve, yeah. I saw some like really random pauses and some other. Were those just?
Oh
like...
yeah, I kept like tabbing out of the game. I didn't have inactive play on.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I misclicked and I.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
just a really good setup. Yeah, that's some free top save later.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, if you don't have an option called inactive play enabled when you don't have the game in focus, it will pause. So that's what those seemingly random pauses were.
Yeah.
Especially like in the intro SMUP section and in prologue, I was like, what are these random pauses?
Yeah, that's pretty much that. Tabbing out, accident. That's pretty much what you do in prologue. You tab out for the first minute.
Yeah, exactly. Oh well, still worked out. So now that you've won this race, you'll actually be your next match will actually be against me, I think.
Oh. Yeah, no, I did not. Are you worried?
A little. A
little. Cool.
How many tourney races have you PB'd in so far?
Most of them.
Most of them?
Yeah, I've had 2 bad and everything else has been PB. Yeah.
That's kind of scary. You're getting pretty close to what I usually get in races, so it should definitely be close. I'll say that much. I'm pretty confident about that.
Yeah.
So it looks like Shabu has finished up as well.
Alright. What did he get? I'm not by any screen at the moment, so I can't see.
Oh, it looks like a 135.07.
Awesome.
He had a bit of issues with a few things. Yeah. Like he fell down in a factory, so he had to take the sort of intended way.
Oh. Crushers.
But yeah, congrats. Anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
No, I think I'm pretty finished. I'm gonna gather my stuff and say hi to the runners. I think they're doing some stuff on the main event.
All right, sounds good. Enjoy the rest of your time at ESA.
Yeah.
Oh, and congrats again.
Thank you very much.
So before we sign off here, we do have another tournament match tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's between Unity and Icefire. That should also be a pretty close race. That is our last round 1 match. So after that, we'll just have another winners round 2 match and some more losers round 1 matches to go. You can check out the bracket at tourney.nierspeedrun.com, and you can follow both these guys, twitch.tv/teamtrashaf and /Fudgecow. So thanks a lot to Speed Gaming for hosting our tournament here. We definitely appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Good night.